Hello everyone, welcome to Module 7. So this is a really important week because we are transitioning from the research portion of our problem analysis to the organization and the pre-writing activities that will help us write this problem analysis essay. And so I'm here looking at the module as a whole so you can see that bird's eye view. And you can see right here after Tuesday, well, right at Tuesday, right at the beginning of the week, we're shifting. We're shifting from the research report and turning to methods and really good strategies that help us learn how to synthesize material, how to bring it together, how to analyze it and present it for a reader. And that sounds a lot harder than it actually is. But first, let's look at this library research report, because if you notice, it is worth 30 points. It's worth 3 times more than what our usual APs, assignment posts, are worth. So I'm going to open this in another tab so I don't lose that view of the module. And what I'm asking you to do, this really isn't difficult. You should have gathered 4 sources, 4 articles, or 5, where experts or stakeholders, that's like organizations or people who have a stake, people who care about the issue or phenomenon that you are focused on, you've gathered those people together, right? It's like gathering them around a table. So you found these sources. They're all talking about the same thing. They're all in the same conversation you are, and you've gathered them together, okay? And this is where I simply want you to tell me what they are, okay? And I'm asking you to write the full MLA citations, not simply a link, not simply a title, okay? The full MLA citations for each one. There's going to be 2 peer-reviewed sources and a brief summary. This is a Word document, so you can move it around a little bit. And then you will do the other 2 credible sources. Now, these could also be peer-reviewed, or it can be another credible source, and then simply describe your process in finding these. How did you find these sources? What did you look for? What databases did you use? And all of that, okay? So that is all we're doing for the research worksheet. But it's important because it gets us to the point where we can start synthesizing. We can start looking at these sources. And I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit. And I have just a few slides that I wanted to share to show you the transition. So we've been researching. We've been gathering people together. And I use the metaphor gathering around the table because it's a really common metaphor out there where you've gathered really important voices around the table. But at this point, and for this project, you are largely neutral. You're largely almost invisible. So in our autoethnography, you were the center stage. You were the star. This was your, experiences. You're the one identifying this issue or phenomenon, and your experiences were the main source of evidence. But for this one, you're stepping backstage, and you are gathering these other experts together, and you're putting them center stage. And you're going to simply tell your reader what they have to say. And so I use this analogy. Let's say, for instance, that you went to a conference on hunger in the world, okay? And you found, this big conference, a lot of people are talking, a lot of tables are set up where people are gathered to talk, and you found the table of the issue that you wanted to look at, which was locating the right, or food insecurity among college students. That was your issue that you focused on. And so you have gathered these people around your table through your research, through finding the sources. And now what you're going to simply do is you are kind of that creepy guy that kind of hovers on the margins and listens. Okay, you're not joining the conversation yet. You're simply listening to what these people have to say so that then you can go and report to your audience what they have to say and what the problem looks like based on what they have to say. So again, you're not joining the conversation yet. Okay, you kind of did in your autoethnography, but right now you're stepping back. You're taking a neutral stance because it is important to listen to what other experts have to say and to consider what they have to say. And you are going to listen to them, and you are going to present their ideas to a reader. And let's see, our job here So we've gathered them around, but the next move is to describe this conversation to your audience and share our analysis and view of the problem or phenomenon based on what we learned. Okay? So if we go back to our, let's see, right here in our module, we have our actual assignment. Go back and review this. Look at it. It explains the whole synthesis and what we're doing. And if we go down here, we have the research criteria. We've got those 4 sources. And here on the essay criteria, we're getting ready to compose that essay that simply reports what we learned. We will take a neutral stance. That means we will write this in 3rd person, because if we wrote it in 1st person, that would undermine our sense of objectivity. We are simply going to tell our audience what these people have to say and what the problem looks like based on what they have to say. If you look at what I have next in the module, I have 2 student examples that have done that I think will be really helpful. The first one is actually, let me see if I can make it bigger, is actually the 2nd stage of the student example that I shared for the autoethnography. The student example, I think the title was Budding Friendships in High Places. And it was a great example of an autoethnography where the student identified this kind of loneliness he felt as a college student and how he kind of created this friendship or found this friendship and this mutual connection through smoking marijuana. Okay. Well, this one, he moved into this problem analysis and he chose to kind of develop or kind of evolve the topic into the difficulty in finding friendships as an adult or in forming friendships as an adult. So that was how he didn't want to write about marijuana. And so he kind of tweaked the topic to fit this project. And it was a natural progression. And if you look at this, and we'll look at it closer as we go, but here's his thesis. This is the type of thesis we're going to have here. So this leads to the question, this was his research question, what methods are available for helping adults combat loneliness by making friends? While different authors emphasize different solutions, providing both a space for and education on building quality friendships emerges as the prevailing and most effective solution. So do you see here, he is like placing the whole burden of this thesis on the different authors. Right? It's not his thesis. It's like what the problem looks like based on what they have to say. And if we look at the next one, the next student analysis example, they did the same thing. Theirs is about equality, discrimination on college campuses. And if you look at their thesis right here, this is a fantastic example of an introduction. But their thesis down here, he talks about the stakeholders and the people who are talking about this. And he says their arguments range from calling for new policies that stop discrimination found on school campuses to supporting the incorporation of diverse subjects into American academics. Most stakeholders agree that inequality among college campuses is common, yet they offer different solutions to end the discrimination faced by many minorities. These debated solutions range from opinions concerning affirmative action to increased administrative action. Okay? And so again, it's on the stakeholders or the experts or the authors. That's who you are describing. That's who you're basing your kind of assessment of what the problem looks like based on what they have to say. I'm going to come back to these in just a minute. But if we look at what's next is just some reading on synthesizing sources, what it means, some good examples on synthesizing sources. And then we've got, this is what's going to be due. Let me move this up a little bit. There we go. This is what's going to be due by Saturday. Okay, but you'll have to start working on it before Saturday because this is a method, a mapping method, kind of like a cognitive mapping method that will really help us organize the sources that we've gathered and their main points. So you have to really read each of these sources like several times, scan through them, at least the introductions and the conclusions on the peer-reviewed, but get to know these sources because you will need to get to know them, okay, to be able to do this well and not cause any additional angst that isn't necessary. So right here, I have this template for this mapping exercise. And this mapping exercise, well, here, let me go back. I jumped to that too soon. This SOAR method, okay? It's an acronym, and it stands for selecting the sources you will gather, organizing those arguments, finding associations between them, and then using reasoning to find kind of the common points that they discuss. And so now if I open this, okay, we have right up here at the top, and I'm asking you to do this, to map this out, and you're going to send me a picture of your map, okay? And it will, I promise you, it will help you. So right at the top, you're just going to list the different, and there's 5 here, but list the different experts or stakeholders or authors, list them by name, okay? Who have you gathered around the table? Then right below, you're going to write the article or source. Is it a peer-reviewed? Is it a website article? What is it? What type of source is it? Then down below, you are going to write their main argument, their thesis, their main claim. What is the main thing that they are talking about? What is the main thing they're trying to persuade their audience to believe? Okay? All of this is all about selecting and organizing these first three points. And even the 4th point. And then what you're going to do is you're going to list the key points, the main things they talk about. You can even go through sections or go through paragraphs. They're going to have several different points that they make that all support their thesis. List them out here. A, B, C, D. Just list them one by one. Okay, this is all selecting and organizing. But next we get to the associations. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at all of these points and maybe stand back a little bit and locate where they agree and what are the common things that they talk about. For instance, so this first source, this first author, they have this point C that, wait a minute, this 3rd author and this 4th author, they also talk about that same thing. Okay? Write little lines down and write that common point of discussion. And do the same thing throughout. Find all of the common points of discussion. Because those common points of discussion, if we go back here, those are going to be the sections of your essay. Those are the sections of your analysis. And here's some examples. Here's some pictures of some maps from previous students. But if you go down there, those common points will be the sections of your essay, and they'll even kind of form the topic sentences for those sections. So if you look over at the student examples, okay, here's the first one about friendship. Okay, they have their thesis right there. And if you look at their topic sentences, you will see the common points of discussion. First, a rise in loneliness as well as a drop in the number of friends that adults have are both demonstrated in the available research. That was one of the common points of discussion. And then they share and describe the different sources and what they had to say about that. The next common point of discussion that they found, a staggering drop in the number of friends the average adult has given tremendous amount, blah, 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 blah. Okay, sorry, I'm rushing. But then they go through and they share the different authors and what they have to say with that one. And then here's the 3rd. Okay, so those common points of discussion, that's what makes this kind of synthesis so much easier. If we go to the second one, okay, the second student example, they have their thesis there. Here is their first common point of discussion. Many research and stakeholders agree that discrimination and inequality exist. And they share this person, Kenneth Stern, and then they have a little paragraph where another author talks about it, and then they compare those two. They synthesize, those two authors, okay? And then there's the second common point of discussion. Besides changes in policy, another issue focuses on affirmative action, okay? And so there they have a couple paragraphs that describe what the authors have to say about that. And then they do the same thing with the 3rd. So this kind of mapping is really important, and it really helps. Let me get back here. It really helps in the organization, in just kind of providing us with an outline. So I'm going to, at the bottom of the map, I'm asking you to write out those common points of discussion in outline form. They're just bullet points followed by the names of the different authors that talk about that point. Okay, and that will provide you with your own template of how to organize this type of problem analysis essay. It's an awkward type of writing. It really is, but it's also a very common type of writing that you will come across many times. And so this really helps. And that's it for this week. Let me know if you have any questions, and join me for my office hours if you want on Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons. All right? Have a great week, y'all.